No one is exempt from the tests, the trials, the tribulations that comes with life, that comes with saying, I'm going to do something great, right? That comes with, I want to be this type of person. I want to live this life. No one in my family has this life, but I still want it. Okay. Anyone who has done anything that I consider to be great and successful, they started somewhere small, right? They started with a mindset where they doubted themselves, where they were kind of unsure, but there was still something within them that knew they were meant for more. And they chose to entertain that thought more than they entertained the thought that they could be nothing, that they couldn't do it, that it was going to be hard, right? That's the first shift that you want to have when you're going from struggle to success. You want to have that shift where you're like, hold on, even though my reality is showing me all of these things, even though I feel like I lack so much, I feel called to do more. And there's just nowhere in hell, there's no way in hell that I can ignore that calling. So if you want to succeed, right, if you have big goals, and of course you do, that's why you're here. So if you want to become the version of you who can accomplish everything that you want, you have to be willing to let go of the part of you that is identifying with struggle. Hello, my name is Juditha. I'm a mindset coach and your dream life advocate. On this channel, we talk about all things mindset. We talk about your goals, your dreams, your fears, all the things that go into creating your dream life, because I'm doing the same thing. So trust me, I get it. So we're going to talk about how do you go from identifying with struggle to identifying with success. So the first thing that I even want to talk about is like, what does it mean to identify with struggle? When I say struggle, I mean your ability to create the life that you say you want to have. It's your ability to create the financial freedom, the time freedom, the location freedom, your ability to create those things, and how hard it is for you. That's what I mean by the struggle. The alternative to identifying with struggle is to identify with success. And we're going to get into that in a minute, how you switch your mindset from struggle to success. One of the first things we have to think about is identity. Like, your identity is who you believe that you are. It's the stories that you tell yourself. And the reason why you might be stuck in a struggle identity is because you may have grown up around people who all you've seen is them struggling, like your parents, your family, right? Your friends maybe. And because of all those things, because of your environment, you have grown up to think that the struggle is necessary. You have grown up to think that the struggle is just a part of life. It's a normal thing. Like, you wake up today and you're stressing about something, and to you, that's normal. And I want you to know that it is going to feel normal, because that's just how your brain works. Your brain is always going to be running on those patterns and routines and those thoughts that you think consistently, whether it's good for you or whether it's bad for you. It does not matter. Your brain does not care about whether you succeed or not. What your brain is there for is to protect you. It's there to memorize the things that you've always done, because when you stay in that zone of comfort, when you stay in that zone of always doing what you've always done, always thinking the thoughts that you've always thought, your brain equates that with safety, because your brain can predict. Like, when you get home from work and you say, I want to work out, but every day it is so hard for you to make yourself work out, the reason that isn't because you're lazy. It's not just because you're just an incapable person. Like, that's just a story that you might be telling yourself. But the real reason why it's so hard for you to change and to work out when you say you're going to do it is because you have been this version of yourself for so long, right? You have been this version of yourself who doesn't work out, who pretends to be lazy, who procrastinates, right? You have been this version to where you start identifying with it, and it just starts to feel like, this is who I am, right? So when people talk to you and they're like, well, why don't you work out like you say you're gonna? Your response might be like, I don't know, I'm just lazy. This is just who I am. I'm just not used to it, right? And these are things that you are going to tell yourself repeatedly over and over and over until it just becomes who you are unintentionally, like on a subconscious level. You just become that person because it's the story you've been telling yourself for so long. So something that I want you to remember is, it's not who you are, it's just who you are being. And the thing about who you are being is that you get to change. And the way that you change who you are being is you change the story that you've been telling yourself about who you are, right? About what you can do, about what's possible for you in this lifetime. That's how you start to change your story. And when you change your story, you automatically change your actions. You automatically change your habits. You automatically change your level of discipline, because now you have to conform to the new story. That is the way we work. Human nature. If I say I am wealthy and I believe it enough, if I remind myself of this every day, I am going to conform to the identity of a wealthy person. I'm going to start reading more. I'm going to start believing in myself more. I'm going to start taking steps that I usually wouldn't. And that's because I have taken on an identity of I am wealthy. And now on a subconscious level, I have to take action and make moves that align with that belief that I am wealthy. So that is the vital role that your identity is playing in your life. But something else that I want you to remember, and I had to learn this, is that stress and struggle is a choice. And it doesn't always feel that way, but when you become self-aware, you realize that it's a choice, because you can simply just stop choosing to stress. Like, you cannot have everything that you want and still not stress about it. You cannot have everything that you want and not feel like you have to struggle, to make it. There is two paths that we are always able to choose in life. One is the struggle, the stress, and the other one is the path of least resistance. And you might be thinking to yourself, like, no, I am struggling. Like, I'm literally struggling financially. I'm struggling mentally. And I don't want to take away from your experience and tell you that it's a lie or that it's not happening, because it really could. It feels real. Like, when you're experiencing it, of course, it feels real because it's your reality. But the reason why I say that struggle and stress is a choice is because there is probably someone who is living a life that's similar to yours, and they're not as upset about it, right? They're not as sad about it, because they're like, this is just what life is. Like, if you think about people in some countries, for example, the Philippines, like, some people choose poverty. Some people are okay with having less than, because they are able to because they still have their happiness, they still have their joy, they still have their mind, and that is enough for them. And for us, or for you, depending on where you are, it might feel like, well, I have to struggle. But I want you to keep that in mind. Keep in mind that peace and happiness is an internal state. It's not external. It's not something that is only available to some of us. Like, it's available to you always. Peace is always available to you. Happiness is always available to you. But the thing is, it's just, do you have the strength to choose it? Do you have the mindset to choose it? Do you have the mindset to keep telling yourself what you actually deserve every time your brain tries to bring you back to who you've always been? Because we are running on programs that have been running since we've been born, right? These programs have been given to us by our parents, by our culture, by our society. So all of these stories, all these programs, these are the things that you're working to rewire, and it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to become someone new. It's going to be hard to believe you can when for years you kept believing that you can't. It's going to be hard to believe that you can stop stressing when for years you've been stressing. But this is the key to attracting abundance. If you can embody the state of abundance ahead of time, if you can feel abundant ahead of time, if you can believe in the abundance that's available to you ahead of time, then you will become more abundant, right? And sometimes it's not even that your physical reality has to change for you to see the abundance. It's just your mindset has to change. The lens in which you're viewing your own life has to change. And that was exactly the case for me. I started to look at my life in a whole different way, and I started to see how abundant I already was. Like, I did not need to wait for the money to feel abundant. I did not need to wait for the money to feel happy, to feel free, to feel okay. I could do that ahead of time. And when I did that, I started feeling blessed, and these opportunities started coming up, and I started having business ideas, and I started meeting clients. Like, that's how it works. When you shift your internal state, then you're able to see how your reality is going to start shifting to match that internal state. And that's ultimately how you go from identifying with struggle to identifying with success. So let's get into these practical steps that you can start taking today to switch from that struggling mindset to a more success mindset. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to first identify exactly what it is you're struggling with. Okay, what do you feel you're struggling with right now? Is it that you're struggling with your finances? Are you struggling with your mentality? Are you struggling to work out? Like, what is it? Put a face to the thing that you're struggling with. Like, I want you to be very, very clear, right? Because I don't like to operate in ambiguity, because when you operate in ambiguity, it's easy to ignore the problems. It's easy to just become a victim, because ultimately, when you struggle and you stress, you're a victim of your circumstance. You're a victim of your situation. So that's the first thing that I want you to look at and to pinpoint. Now, after you do that and you know exactly what the struggle is, like what it is you feel like you're struggling with, great. Now I want you to set goals. I want you to tell me, What kind of life do you want to live? What type of things do you want to accomplish? What do you want to achieve? What goals do you have? When you think about your dream life, what does it look like? What are you doing? How do you make money? What type of friends do you have? Right? I know that's a lot of questions, but I want you to answer. Just be as detailed as possible when you're doing this. Like, take some time, pause the video, write these things down, because you need to be clear on it. Because once you are clear that this is who I want to be, this is the life that I want to live, these are the things that I want to do, the next thing that you're going to do is look at your struggles and then look at your dream life, and then think about and consider like the gap in between those two realities and the mindset that you would have to bridge in order to make it to where you want to be. And the reason that you're going to do that is because I want you to reverse engineer your dream life. So if you say, in my dream life, ultimately, what I would love to see happen in this lifetime is I want to become an entrepreneur. I want to start this business, or I want to show up on social media. If that is your goal, I want you to think about, well, what type of mindset does that require of me? What type of person do I have to become to show up on social media? What type of person do I have to become to start my own business and run it successfully, right? Start to adopt the mindset of someone who is already successful, living a life that looks similar to the life that you wish you had, or the life that you're currently trying to build, whatever it looks like. Think about how they think, how they solve problems, what type of friends do they have, how would they spend their days. And for me, that's exactly what I did in the beginning. I was looking at successful people. I was listening to Oprah Winfrey's story all the time. I listened to Tyler Perry's story, Jim Carrey's story, Lisa Nichols, Les Brown, Jack Canfield, Jim Rohn. Like, I listened to these people's stories because it inspired me. The first thing it did was it showed me that no one is exempt from the tests, the trials, the tribulations that comes with life, that comes with saying, I'm going to do something great, right? That comes with, I want to be this type of person. I want to live this life. No one in my family has this life, but I still want it. Okay. So first, it showed me that anyone who has done anything that I consider to be great and successful, they started somewhere small, right? They started with a mindset where they doubted themselves, where they were kind of unsure, but there was still something within them that knew they were meant for more. And they chose to entertain that thought more than they entertained the thought that they could be nothing, that they couldn't do it, that it was going to be hard, right? That's the first shift that you want to have when you're going from struggle to success. You want to have that shift where you're like, hold on, even though my reality is showing me all these things, even though I feel like I lack so much, I feel called to do more. And there's no way in hell that I can ignore that calling. So that's the first thing I want you to do. Start to embody and model the mindset of the person you admire to become, or just pick any successful person who you admire, look at their mindset, read about their stories, Google them, I don't care, read a book about it. But these little things is what gets your mind ready to accept the possibility of what you can do, right? These are the things that are going to open the door in your head, in your mind, to start thinking more like someone who is successful, or more like someone who can be successful. And the reason why we focus on mindset so heavily is because you cannot action your way out of a bad mindset. And that's why if you set goals this year, but you are not doing the work, you simply just put an action plan together and you're like, today I'm going to do this, tomorrow I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. That might work for you for a little while, but that plan, like that, in the long run, that's probably not going to work for you, because you have to work on becoming the type of person who can consistently work on those things. You have to work on having the mindset of someone who doesn't give up, right? Someone who is committed, someone who knows how to figure things out no matter what. And if you just set a big goal and you start taking action on it, but you're not working on yourself, it's going to be easy to quit the first time your brain tells you this isn't working. It's going to be easy to give up when your imposter syndrome kicks in. It's going to be easy to say this isn't for me when it gets hard, right? And this is why mindset matters, and this is why I talk about it so much, right? Because mindset first, if you can place yourself in a successful state ahead of time, then actually doing the things and taking the action that would make you successful, it's going to come easier. It's going to come way easier, because mentally you've already become success. And once you become it mentally, you become a magnet to it. You start attracting the right people. You start attracting the right opportunities. And This isn't just like magic, but what actually happens is on a vibrational level, you do change, but also the lens that you see the world changes. And when the lens that you see the world through changes, you start seeing opportunities where you wouldn't have, right? When you step into the mindset that I can do anything, I can learn anything, I'm willing to try and mess up and fail at anything if it means my success is inevitable. If you have that mindset, you start to see opportunities where even though it scares you, you're still like, you know what? This is scary, but I'm this person. I'm this person that tries. Like when you take on the identity of someone who tries and fails and doesn't mind trying and failing, then opportunities are less scary. You're more willing to jump on board. You're more willing to put yourself out there. You're more willing to look stupid in the beginning, right? That is what it takes. This is something that none of us are exempt from. But all you have to do is have the mindset where you're willing to endure these things, where you're willing to endure the fear, the doubt, the insecurities. If you're willing to endure it, then you will get past it, okay? It just depends on how much you are willing to remind yourself of what's actually possible for you in this lifetime. Okay, so now at this point, we've identified what we're struggling with, we've identified our goals, and we've identified the mindset that we would need to get there. And now, like I just said, the next step is to consistently step into this mindset. And I'll give you a perfect example. If you say, I want to start a business this year, I want to be an entrepreneur, and you look into the mindset of an entrepreneur, you know that this is someone who has to be resilient. This is someone who has to be courageous. This is someone who has to be willing to try things. Even if it doesn't work out the first time, you have to be willing to try it again and again. This is just the mindset of most entrepreneurs based on what I know. Once you know the type of mindset that it takes for you to be able to succeed at that thing, then you take action, then you take radical action, then you take imperfect action. And as you're taking action, you're going to come up against you're going to come up against your biggest critic, and that is your brain. That is your thoughts. That is the person that you used to be, right? That old version of you is going to want to come up and is going to want to remind you why you can't, why you doubt, why you're insecure. And this is where that mindset part comes in. Remember, we already know ahead of time the type of person that our goals require us to be. So for example, for me, when the insecurities and the doubts show up as I'm creating and building my business, I'm like, hold on, the mindset that I'm supposed to have is someone who is resilient. So as a resilient person, I can't believe these things. I have to bounce back, right? I've already told myself ahead of time, this is what it takes. This is the type of mindset I'm going to have. This is the type of person I'm going to have to become. And in order for me to become that person and to not slip back into the old version of me again, is to keep reminding myself and then stepping into that every time I forget, stepping into the identity of someone who is resilient, who is courageous. Just moment by moment it happens. And before you know it, every time you're consistent at reminding yourself, every time you're consistent at stepping back into that mindset that your goals require you to be, eventually you're going to turn around, and the person that you are going to become in a year, in 2 years, is going to be someone that you can't recognize, because you're going to be like, damn, I remember when that stuff used to stress me out. I remember when I used to struggle with this, and now I can care less about it. Now I know that I can get over anything. Now I know that I can figure anything out. Okay. And that, my friend, is how you go from identifying with struggle to identifying with success, to taking on the mindset of someone who is successful. And the last thing I want to say is, when it comes to success, you get to define what that is. You get to define what success looks like to you. And more importantly than what it looks like, you get to define what success feels like to you. Okay. That is it for today. I hope this video was helpful. I hope you bloomed, and let me know in the comments if this was helpful. Make sure that you subscribe if you enjoyed it, if you learned anything, and I will see you guys on the next one.